Welcome into Raptors today. It's a snowy day in Toronto, so the boys all decided we're going to stay home in the safety of our own houses, and we hope you guys are being safe too, staying off the roads if you don't need to. And we got a treat last night as the Toronto Raptors got a big win in their first game of 7 on the road against Sacramento, 113-95. Akil Augustine, Sherman Hamilton, Paul Jones. Sherman, I'll start with you. Was that the most connected that we've seen this Toronto Raptors squad defensively? Because there was a big third quarter that really put a stamp on this game where they held the Kings to just 17 points in a quarter.
I don't know if it's the most connected, but it's been the most connected that we've seen in a while in terms of the consistency on both sides of the basketball. And you talk about the defensive side. I thought the Raptors were so locked in. They were so on task. They were constantly executing the multiple effort plays on the defensive side. The ability to really eliminate Sabonis and make it very, very problematic for him to get anything going. He had 9 turnovers in the game. And then De'Aaron Fox, the Raptors kind of Giannis'd him, walled up, made sure he saw bodies, didn't give him any angles, any driving lanes, and he struggled as well. And I thought, you know, when you can follow that game plan and you can execute the way that they did, all of a sudden now you don't rely on your offense, even though their offense was pretty good. They shot over 49% from the floor. But I just thought their defense was excellent collectively, too, not just one or two guys. 5-man approach on the floor, whether it be a hybrid unit of the second unit and some of the starters or all starters. I thought the team collectively dug in, got it done from the jump defensively, and stuck with the game plan consistently throughout the game. It was impressive.
Without OG too, Paul Jones.
Yeah, no, the focus was there. The focus was there. I thought OG early on did a really good job. The way they were able to guard Sabonis, a lot of it, I mean, here's a guy who's usually bigger, stronger, quicker, has an advantage over his defender in some way. If they put a smaller guy on him, he's just bigger. If they put a big guy on him, he's quicker. And his strength is something always that has to be, considered. And I thought OG did a good job on him. They tried to keep OG on him. And the doubles came at the right time. They just didn't sell out going at him in terms of the double team, to Sherm's point about the game plan. And he had a career-high 9 turnovers. And when they did come to him, hands high, deflected a lot of passes. He just couldn't get any kind of rhythm all night. And you could see him after a while, A, getting frustrated, and B, starting to think about, well, what's my next move going to be? Just trying to figure out what they came at him with. And, the Raptors' MO was in full effect in that game against Sacramento. Turned them over 19 times. They were +9 in turnovers. And I believe they were a +7 on the offensive glass, accounting for 16 more possessions. Toronto, number 1 in the NBA, only giving up about 83 shots a game. Sacramento got 73 shots, and this is one of the highest scoring teams in the league. Meanwhile, the Raptors get up 97 shots, and working off the premise that, even if we don't shoot it well, if we have more kicks at the can than you, if some of them go down, we're going to be in better shape. And the fact that they shot 49% last night, that aided their defense as well.
And how impressive was it? It's a 10 o'clock start. You're on the West Coast. You're not in your usual confines. And this group finds the energy. You talk about the offensive glass. They've got their recipe for success. They've got the areas where they want to dominate. And, of course, one of those areas is, of course, the performance of Pascal Siakam, who put up big numbers, 26, 11, and 7. How impressed were you, Jonesy, with the ability to kind of ratchet things up, kind of hunker down on the road as a group?
I thought he was terrific in that third quarter. He played well in the first half, and something kicked in the third quarter. He was aggressive. He was making shots, taking the ball to the goal, just the kind of playmaker, the catalyst that the Raptors needed. So give Pascal credit for his third quarter. And last time he was in that building, he scored 32. We've talked about this before. There are some times that you get a building, rims, a feeling in a certain place, and Pascal looked to be doing that, particularly in the third quarter. Uber aggressive, picked up his scoring, and really that gave Toronto that 17-point cushion going to the fourth frame.
Yeah, sure. But I mean, your thoughts on what you got from not only just the leader, but everybody on the road game.
Well, I thought, when you talk about the second unit, again, Chris Boucher was great in that second quarter. Did a great job scoring, being aggressive, mixing it up. And Precious was great in the fourth quarter. They got some great production off their bench. And when you think about it, it was the two guys who mainly got it done. Precious with 19, Chris Boucher with 16, which, those are big numbers coming off the bench. But you could see that different elements of this Raptor roster kicked in. Scotty was very good at moving the ball and facilitating and running offense throughout the game. And as Jonesy and you've talked about, that third quarter by Pascal is where the Raptors created separation, where they went on that 24-9 run with a 9-minute span in that third quarter. And Pascal had a big, big part to do with that. And, when you got Pascal dropping 14 and 6, and I think it was two assists and a couple blocks, his activity defensively can't go unnoticed. He was very good in terms of being a multiple effort guy on that side of the basketball. So, the leaders took over, and you need that on the road. You need your guys, your main guys in those moments. And we talk about third quarters all the time, to be able to step in, assert their dominance, and make big plays consistently. And I thought Pascal did a great job. But to your point, Akil, collectively, this was a team win. Guys stepped up and made plays throughout junctures of the game, but the consistent thread throughout the game, I feel, was their defense. It was as good as we've seen in a long time.
Well, the Raptors got their leaders to show up, and they were able to shut down one of the leaders of the Sacramento Kings, and that is Domantas Sabonis. Savannah Hamilton with more on how they're able to do that right now.
Thanks, Akil. Well, hats off to the Toronto Raptors, because they really defended Sabonis by committee tonight. They threw multiple bodies, made it really tough. What really stood out to me was the fact that they put pressure on De'Aaron Fox on that entry pass. So Fred VanVleet actually picked a few of those ones off himself. But on top of that, OG and Scotty, they really made it difficult for him in the paint to get comfortable and to find his place. And when he was challenged at the rim by guys like Boucher coming off the bench as well. So when I talked to Sabonis, he's not surprised by this, because he knew it was going to be a dogfight. He said that the Raptors, they're not an easy team, despite maybe what the record shows. But he knew that the Raptors would come in, play tough defense, and he also said that they're a team that's putting it all together now. So he was aware, and let's just say the Raptors, well, they rose to the occasion. Akil.
Thank you, Savannah. Now, Sherman, you touched on it, so I'll let you follow up. But Chris Boucher, 16 and 6 with the 2 offensive rebounds, a big performance for him. And we spent so much time, and the media has this year, being critical of this second unit and expecting more from these guys. But like was just said by Savannah, kind of finding their form at the right time.
Yeah, and, for whatever reason, when Precious Achiuwa got injured, that's when we saw Chris Boucher's consistency coming off the bench start to falter. Now Precious is back, and Chris is doing a great job. And I really thought against Sacramento, he was very good in terms of staying within himself, not trying to do too much. And that, to me, is when Chris is at his best, because now he can be the recipient of other people's work, i.e., people break down the defense. Chris is in the corner, he gets a wide open three. He's just got to shoot it. One time in the game, after making a couple of threes, he made a great decision, caught it on the three-point line, took a couple of dribbles, got all the way to the basket when he would have in the past just jacked up the three. So I just like his approach and the balance that he's bringing to the game. And for some reason, again, I wish I knew why. When Precious is coming into the game and Chris is coming into the game, Chris is a different player, and it showed again against Sacramento. But those were big bench points from Boucher, and I like his activity defensively. He made 2 great blocks on dunk attempts at the rim. Just phenomenal blocks. And that's kind of where Chris Boucher's locked in, when he has that type of attention to detail defensively, and offensively, he consistently makes the right play.
Jonesy.
I love the hybrid unit. We've seen it for the second game now. And I'd have to go back and probably examine it more carefully to see if where Nick has invoked it. They start the fourth quarter. They did it against New York, and they did it against Sacramento, where there were 3 bench players, Boucher and Achiuwa, and we talked about Precious with 13 in the fourth quarter, along with Hernan Gomez. Now Nick can rest Pascal and rest Fred, and he leaves OG and Scotty out there. So you've got this 5-man lengthy unit that plays the zone. And it's kind of like Nick has a game going. It's always a quandary for a head coach. When do I put my starters back in? Okay, bench, like the New York game, I'm giving you a lead for the fourth quarter, and here's the point of no return. When it gets to this point, the starters come back in. How long you stay out there is almost up to you. We saw it for almost 8 minutes in the New York game at the start of the fourth quarter before Fred and Pascal came back in. And last night we saw it for about 5 minutes before he went back to Pascal. The lead was at 17. It went up, it went down to 14, 12. He waited a little back up. And I just think that hybrid unit with, the two guys leading the way, Precious and Chris off the bench, playing with that energy, that enthusiasm, making plays defensively and scoring on the offensive end with enough around them, Nick gets a chance to keep the other team off balance before he goes back to his starter. So again, it was basically a two-man job off the bench. But I thought, both Precious and Chris were terrific. And I'm looking for this more consistently with Nick now that it seems like the bench is back and able to contribute.
Yes, the bench is finally a positive story, and something that's always a positive story is the journey to the NBA for one Chris Boucher. And recently he was in episode 1 of Bags to Riches, a series that you can find on YouTube. We'll give you a little sneak peek taste right now.
My success is based on confidence and believing in myself. And I believe in giving back. If I could save a kid from going what I've been through, I know what it is to not have anything. And so that's what I'm focused on the most with my foundation, is to make sure that I give a way for the kids to have fun and they know that they got to work hard and that it's possible to make it.
All right, that bench is a coin, a two-headed coin like you guys just talked about. We talked about the one side of the coin, the face is Boucher. On the other side is Precious Achiuwa, 19-5 on 9 of 12 from the field. And a young man who we were worried about in terms of when will he find the confidence with those legs and the injuries. But now we're seeing him round at the form. Jonesy, your thoughts on exactly how far this unit can go? Because we know they're leaning on the starters, and they seem to have picked the two guys they're going to lean on this bench unit. And it's Boucher and Achiuwa now.
Precious has never lacked confidence. In one of his first games back in a Raptor win, we had him for our post-game interview on the radio, and I said, "What's the feeling of the room?" And he kind of looked at me and said, "Oh, we're good. We're good." And here's a guy who, and I think sometimes people forget this. This is only his third season in the league, and I don't know how much you count season 1 because he played in a very structured, almost stilted and staid system in Miami where he didn't have a whole lot of freedom. And we saw him have that freedom granted at the start of last year. And people were like, what is going on? Nick even commented that Masai would come in and say, why is Precious doing all this? And Nick had it orchestrated. If I'm going to have him reap the benefits of being confident and playing free, there's going to be some growing pains. And that's what you're seeing now. He looks supremely confident out there, handling the ball, and shots that he would have hoisted last year without even thinking, he's turning down now. And he's making the next play, getting to the next action, waiting till the right time to take a three-point shot or to take a drive, and not just indiscriminately saying, oh, it's my turn. So I love the way the young man has improved, and I love what he's giving this team. And like I said, with him back and healthy, it just gives Nick so many more options with the versatility of his skill set.
Sherman, your thoughts on Precious?
Well, first of all, I want to give Juancho Hernan Gomez some love. You're not going to look at the stat sheet and see big numbers, 1 point, but he has been such a good stopgap player. Nick throws him in there for certain stretches, and his movement, his ability to make a play here or there and just facilitate offensive flow and defensively be active. I just like what he brings without looking at a stat sheet. Just watching him play, you can get a real understanding of how difficult it is to play that role, but do it successfully. And he's doing a very good job of that. But as for Precious, everything Jonesy said is true. But also, Precious is a unique player. He's got very good size, but he is quick. Precious puts the ball on the floor and he gets those legs going. And he gets to that rim really, really fast. And you can see how quick he is because defenders want to reach or want to try and slide in there to take a charge. They can't get there in time. He's already at the rim. But his decision-making is growing. I like the fact that Precious, he's making plays not just for himself, but for teammates as well in terms of moving the basketball. So we're seeing the maturity and the growth of his game. And And we all know speed kills, especially if you don't know how to use it. And Precious has speed that he has to harness and utilize the right way. And we're seeing a gradual development of an understanding of how to be effective, use that speed while not just jacking shots up from the three-point line. So I really like what he did. And last night in that fourth quarter, he was phenomenal in terms of just being aggressive and just making smart decisions when he had the ball in his hands.
Someone else happy with what they saw was Nick Nurse. We had you off to Nick Nurse and Fred VanVleet, their post-game comments.
You see Pascal's game. He sort of, it's a quiet game, but his numbers stand out. What did you see the way he sort of took control in that third quarter, but didn't overtake control?
Well, yeah, I tell you, first thing I like him shooting all those perimeter shots, right? And when they're rhythm, right? I mean, their plays are happening and it gets kicked out to him and he's just stepping in and shooting them, okay? I think he's going to make a good enough percentage of those to keep him honest, right? But I thought he had a stretch, Doug, where he made a really tough basket near the rim, came down the next time, made the same kind of move, fired it to OG for a three, came down, made the same kind of move, fired it to Fred for a three. Like three successive possessions where he created really high efficiency offense, right? So he just got back to command of the game. Like he was taking it to where he wanted to go, and if they used more people than one, he was zinging it out there right on target.
You often talk about a lot of the role players, whatever they do, sort of make the decision quickly. I think you've mentioned that a lot with Precious in particular.
Yep.
As a team, was that the most you were sort of doing that collectively this year, or among the most at least?
Well, again, I think that we just had a game offensively where we really, I'm trying to think, there was not very many possessions where we didn't just make the right decision with what to do with it. You know, we got hemmed up, we would drive it to the paint and kick it out. Like, we had 43s there, and most of them were really good. Like, there was a stretch when I think we missed 6 or 8 in a row, and every one of them was wide open. Like, when we were already up like 20, but we just kept making the right plays. It was aggressive to the paint and out, and they start blitzing a little bit. We hit the right plays there, and just enough little cuts and dump-offs inside, too, and pretty good on the glass, too. Yep.
You guys looked like right from the get-go you were moving the ball really well and quickly. Like everyone wasn't sticking at all. And then defensively, like a lot of cooperation, a lot of help, a lot of good rotations. Is there any relationship between those two things?
Are those compliments?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Thank you.
You guys played awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it looked good. It felt good. No, I just thought we were locked in. You know, it's never too late. It's never too late. I know that we've had our struggles this year for sure, but you know, the only thing we can do is focus on, you know, tomorrow. And I think at this point, you just got to stack days. So today was a good day. We had a good day yesterday. I thought the New York game was good. So it's 3 good days in a row. We need another good one tomorrow. And, you know, just focus on the work that's in front of you. And I just thought that we were really tied into tonight, both ends of the floor. Just, you know, played pretty well.
When you get that kind of production off the bench from Precious and Chris, they got like 35 and 11 or something like that. What, like their energy, is it sort of infectious that they bring in and help you guys along in those minutes?
Well, it sustains us, you know, and on most nights, you know, the starting 5 is okay. You know, we battle whether it's in as good, bad, or ugly, and, you know, that's what you need that bench for, is to either take your lead up or maintain. And tonight they were incredible, both ends of the floor. I thought Chris gave us a big offensive boost in the first, and Precious just, you know, all over the floor, making plays defensively, out in transition and running, and just, you know, those guys were really forceful and, you know, play with a lot of energy tonight, and we needed it. So give them a lot of credit.
All right, from one ball distributor to another, we're going to talk about Scotty Barnes in the January he's having as we take a peek at his numbers. And you look at what Scotty's done. Sherman, I'll start with you. How has Scotty kind of changed, or what has he done to kind of get himself back into a rhythm in this month?
Well, I think it's twofold. Part of it is on Scotty's shoulders, and part of it is on Nick Nurse's shoulders. And Nick Nurse, from a tactical perspective, did a good job of putting the ball in his hands, making him a screener. And as you know, on a screener roll, the ball handler is usually stopped, the ball gets kicked back, and now that screener becomes the playmaker. and kind of the quarterback of the offense at that juncture. And Scotty's been doing a very good job, whether it's a short roll, a roll all the way to the basket, a pick and pop. He has the ball in his hands more as a playmaker. Evidence against Sacramento on Wednesday night, he had 10 assists and only 1 turnover. But he's doing a very good job in terms of providing more aggression with consistency. Remember, it was just a few games ago where Indiana's Miles Turner was defending him in the paint, wasn't even coming close to defending him in terms of range. And they had to change that. Scotty's too good to not allow that to happen. So I thought they've done a good job in terms of putting him in better positions to be a facilitator or playmaker, which allows him to be more aggressive offensively. The other side of it is Scotty's just got to make decisions to be that guy. You know, he's young. He's probably figuring things out. But every night it's got to be the decision of I am going to be as aggressive as I can be. That doesn't mean shoot the ball all the time. That means just be aggressive, searching plays. And if he continues to do that with the way they're utilizing him, we're going to see a lot of big nights from Scotty in terms of assist totals.
Jonesy, how does he keep this momentum rolling?
The same way Sherm talked about. Going into the game against Minnesota, I believe. I haven't checked it recently, but he was shooting 70%. I think we mentioned this on our show last week. He was shooting 70% as the roll man or as the second ball handler in screen and roll situations. And we saw last night a couple times where he took that and it looked like there was going to be a shot, and now he dumps it down. We saw, a dunk by Boucher as Scotty got into the lane. The key word that comes to me from what Sherm said was his decision-making. He's making better decisions. He's being put in a position where some of those decisions are easier to make because of what's presented in front of him by way of the screen roll. And they're not just giving him the ball and say, okay, you run the offense, you quarterback the offense. It's the way he's getting the ball and the spots he's getting the ball in. So give Scotty credit, as Sherm said, give Nick some credit, but who benefits? The team. And it takes some of the pressure off Scotty to do all that he had to do before.
All right, well, Scotty, part of the young future of this Toronto Raptors team. Another part of that future is, of course, Christian Koloko, who was down with the Raptors 905. And we've got our Raptors 905 broadcast crew of Matt and Javon with an update.
The Raptors 905 win the first ever meeting between these two, 110-89. Big second half from the 905. They outscored the Squadron by 24 points, and they really picked it up shooting-wise. They really picked it up rebound-wise, Javon, with 20 offensive rebounds on the game. They're plus 17 overall on the glass. What did you like about the second half?
Well, more importantly, they came out, they forced the team to turn the ball over right out of the half, right? And then they won the fast break game. 29 points in fast break and transition. Got their athletes out. Guys got out and ran. And then they shared the basketball. And I think that was the most impressive thing to me, because in the first half, they didn't shoot the ball as well. The second half, they were lights out, right? But that's because everybody was getting a touch. Everybody was getting a feel. And what comes with that comes with confidence. That comes with selflessness, because when you give it up and a guy makes a shot, you trust that you're going to get it back on the second time.
Now, speaking of making a shot, Sterling Brown, he was great in this game. 6 of 7 from beyond the arc.
His less is more with Sterling Brown, right? You see how he plays. Didn't put the ball on the floor, just read what the defense got him, moved off of the ball. You could just see it there, a kick out, knocking it down, getting into the paint in transition here, just playing off of his teammates. And it wasn't the fact that he had 20 points, but look at the full game, 6 assists, not dribbling the ball, the ball's not sticking in his hands. He's reading, playing off of the catch, taking open shots, running the floor. You keep the game simple and you read what the defense is giving you, you're going to be successful. And Sterling Brown, he came out, did that tonight, and that was big-time play. And I think it helps coming from L.A., right? Coming from that heat, that sunshine, and it was still hot over here, right? Came over to the snow.
We got the snowstorm warning in effect,
we do.
Sterling Brown not worried about that. 6 of 7 from beyond the arc here in this one. These two will do it again tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern start. Birmingham staying around despite the snow to take on the Raptors 905, who have now won 4 in a row and 5 of their last 6 games. They continue to try and rise up the standings in this NBA G League regular season. And get it done on Bell Let's Talk Day in support of mental health initiatives.
All right, welcome back into Raptors today. And up next for your Toronto Raptors are the Golden State Warriors, the same Golden State Warriors that allowed Jordan Poole to get a career-high 43 against the Raptors in their last outing. So, Sherman, I'll start with you. Let's talk about Jordan Poole and what the Toronto Raptors have to do to limit this young man who is lighting up the league and basically on SportsCenter every night.
Yeah, the kid can really play, and he got the big deal. And, there was a bit of a dip in his play, but there's no question Jordan Poole can get it going. He's very good in screen and roll handling, and if you play that drop defense, it's lights out. But the guy can create so much separation off the dribble. With the new, I think, travel step back in the league, you can create so much space when you have handles like him. He can play in the mid-range. He can get to the bucket. And in that system in Golden State, he understands how to move without the ball. And when he gets the ball, how to get it going, scoring, or get off of it and get somebody else involved. And he's just another tough, smaller guard to contend with for the Raptors. And they know all about smaller guards like Steph Curry for a long time now. And now you got another one in Jordan Poole who just has a knack for putting that ball in the basket and can shoot it from deep as well. He's a problematic player. If he gets it going, it's kind of like a mini Steph Curry when the lights start to go on for this young man.
Yeah, it's double trouble Jonesy now because he didn't have Steph last time and you still suffered a loss in 43 points. But now you've got Steph and you've got Poole. How did they handle Steph, though? How did they get him to maybe slow down?
Well, it's kind of the same attack approach you have to take with Jordan Poole. You have to be leery of him, not just when he has the ball, but he gives it up and then he's looking, he's moving, he's getting to the next action there. And I hate to say Steph Curry and a guy like Jordan Poole sneak up on you, but in a way they do. And here's what I mean by that. You think, well, he's not going to shoot it from there, or he's not going to catch and shoot it that quickly. And he does. And it always takes me back to the Miracle on Ice when the USA beat the Russians in hockey. And the coach said, if you're not used to playing these guys, they're going to scorch you. And it's the same thing with Poole and Curry. Like, coach, I was right on him. No, you weren't, because he got the shot off. Like all of these, you have to be conditioned to be focused and be right close to them all the time. And even then they're going to shoot it. So what you're trying to do is disrupt them as much as possible. But, like I said, it's not like they sneak up on you, but in a way they do, because they take shots and they do things that you're not expecting. And that's when they get to you. So the Raptors have to have that same focus that they had in Sacramento, not just with Jordan Poole, but now that Steph Curry's back and he's the leader, he's the one that's going to attract most attention. You've got to be locked in defensively.
It's going to be another late one. It's going to be another late one Friday night, 10 p.m. from San Francisco. The Golden State Warriors take on your Toronto Raptors. You can catch that one on the TSN family networks. That does it for us here on Raptors Today. We hope you guys are being safe and stay warm out there during these times. I'll be with the 9:05 tonight for that broadcast, but we'll see you guys next week.